you're gonna learn Fanny and be entertained at the same time with these 10 instructional Fanny gameplays with no ultimate skill. It's gonna be a different playstyle each time, and I'm gonna break down my thought process as a Fanny player every step of the way. So here's how the 10 games were played. The first 3 games are practice games in classic mode, which is very helpful in trying to incorporate freestyle and straight cables into your own gameplay. Of course, you need to practice these in practice mode first, but practicing in classic bridges the gap between your skill in practice mode and your skill in rank. For games 4 and 5, we're gonna try to be strategically aggressive in invading the enemy jungle and shutting down the enemy jungler. In Game 6, we're gonna look at how to play Fanny in EXP lane. In Game 7, we're gonna look at the sustain build for Fanny that allows her to have more leeway and have great margin of error and still win the game. In Game 8, we're gonna look at an epic comeback from a 22-point deficit, and there are gonna be tips and tricks to increase your chances of having comebacks as well. And in games 9 and 10, we're just gonna use simple cables for Fanny even without ultimate, and this will show you that even with simple cables you can win with Fanny. Now let's look at 3 games where we practice freestyle and straight cable in classic mode. For all 3 games, we're gonna be using this emblem, and the items will just be a bit different to adjust to the situation. For the first game, we're gonna be going up against Yin as the enemy jungler, and they also have Franco as the roamer. And as you can see here, early on in the game, Franco is trying to invade, but our Florin is keeping him at bay. A desperate hook there by Franco, thinking that our mid laner might be there because he's not at the middle, and that's why Gord is overextending because he thought he's safe, but he is not safe from Fanny, and on top of it, he doesn't have Flicker, he only used Flame Shot instead. And while we're taking a red buff, we see at a glance that Yin only has red buff, so he hasn't gone for his purple buff yet. So we're gonna invade, and there's a big chance that we're able to steal it and get him at the same time, and we're able to do both. This is why it's important to keep an eye on the enemy jungler anywhere on the minimap and see if he or she has the buff. Here we're just waiting for Guinevere to reveal herself, and while we're waiting, we're holding the map and getting the experience crab. After a while, she revealed herself and we're going in for the kill. After that, we are in a perfect position to secure the turtle, but I've noticed Gord overextending at mid again, and he doesn't have Flicker, remember? So we are going after him with just simple cables and some basic attacks. Yin is trying to bring us into his domain, but we're just cabling back and forth and taunt him a little bit. After that, we're going for the purple buff, but Lunox stole it. At this point, it's quite tempting to flame your allies, but then again, accidents can happen. She apologized and tried to amend by helping out with the orange buff. Anyways, I still lured the creep into the bush and prepared to use Retry if ever she is actually trolling, but she's not. And that's good. Now we're going after Guinevere at bottom lane, so we're gonna do straight cables, and that should do it. Now, I'm hesitant to go after the turtle because we don't know where the enemy jungler is. That's why I went around farming jungle creeps waiting for Yin's next move. So Yin went for the turtle right now together with Gord, and we were able to steal it and get Yin as well. I missed a few cables there, so wasn't able to chase Gord. So I went for my purple buff and tried to invade the enemy red. I might have misplayed here a bit, but it's not that fatal. They were chasing me, yes, but I should be able to escape here. But this is the fatal mistake. I went into the middle of 3 enemy heroes. They chained their CCs and stuns and were not able to escape. Now these 3 stayed at top lane and they were pushing it. Their health is low, they're spent, and this should be an easy kill, but however, this happened. That should have been an easy 2 cable to secure the kill, but my hands are a bit stiff because of the cold weather. It's winter here, so I'm just gonna try to warm up my hands by doing some straight cables, not necessarily looking for a kill. So that's bottom lane, and here's mid lane. By the way, if you want to learn straight cables in an easier and simpler way, you can watch this video after this. Now back to the game. We're running low on energy, so we're chasing Gord by foot, and then we're just gonna use our retribution and we're able to secure the kill. At this point, my hands are not completely warmed up, but at least it's doable. But nevertheless, I was able to do some freestyle. Franco here has the right idea, but I'm just outside turret range. Guinevere's now chasing us, but we're low on energy, so we're just gonna back out a bit and see if he could get the purple buff. And Guinevere's actually going for the purple buff, so we're going in with just simple cables, one cable, back and forth cables, and we're able to secure the purple buff and kill Guinevere at the same time. After that, I went to mid and Cord is alone, so we can go after him with some freestyle cables. I'm not worried about Franco there because he just recently used his ultimate, and so did Yin. And that means we can safely go back to base now. Now, there's a team fight happening at mid, so we're gonna go back to the mid lane. Look at this, Fanny just had a nerf on her energy and she still can do these freestyle cables even without blue buff. Afterwards, let's take our purple buff, and as we're TPing back to base, we can see that Yin is taking Lunox to his domain. So right after we TP back to base, we're gonna go there right away with straight cables. And let's see what happens next. And because of that, we were able to secure the Lord. Right after, the team went straight to mid, so we're gonna head over there as well because there's a team fight breaking out. We're low on energy, so we're gonna recall back to base and try again. And again. And again. But the first game ended, so we're gonna go to the second game right now. In this second game, we're going up against Paquito as the enemy jungler, but since Kimmy is the gold laner at bottom lane, we're not gonna invade the enemy jungle, but we're gonna rotate so that we can gank gold lane immediately after we reach level 4. So we went for a red buff after the purple buff and this golem as well. But since Kimmy is very low, after this golem we're gonna go right away. We're not gonna wait for level 4 or else we're gonna miss our chance. So we're gonna do some 3 and 4 cables to Kimmy behind the tower and then we cable out. Our jungle is pretty much cleared up to this point, so I'm just gonna warm out my hands with some straight cables towards mid lane. Alright, we just turned level 4 and Paquito is still level 3. He might be going to bottom lane, so we're just gonna wait here for what he will do next. And indeed, he went after the bottom laner, so we're just gonna go after him. And Farsa is also here, and that ensures Paquito's demise. Here, we're not gonna go after Vixana, we're just gonna cable right in front of her to show her that she should not mess with our Farsa, because we are around. After we secured our purple buff, we're gonna go to top lane to help Argus defeat his variant. I don't know why, but there's always this urge to attack Argus even if he is in his ultimate form. But we're not gonna do that, we're gonna wait instead, and we're able to burst him down once his ultimate has ended. We saw CC passing by, we're not gonna go after her because our energy is very low, so we should know our limits. We're gonna go for the turtle instead. After that, we're gonna go to mid, we're gonna poke Vixana while queuing up the Malefic Roar. The minions drained Fanny's energy, so we're not gonna pursue anymore. We're gonna leave it up to Farsa. So our next move is just to clear the jungle and possibly gank bottom lane. I'm just about to secure the orange buff, but looking at the minimap, Kimmy is very low, so we're gonna go after her instead with straight cables, 4 cables, and finish with just 1 cable to the wall. And after that, we secure the other side of the jungle, the purple buff, and we cable straight from the base to mid lane. We're poking, baiting out enemy skills, and it seems like we baited out Farsa's ultimate as well. And Farsa finishes off Vexana. Because of that sequence, we were able to push the lane, secure the enemy's purple buff, and the enemy conceded. Now, onto the third game. We're going up against Amon as the enemy jungler, and their roamer is Natalia. So we're gonna expect early invades, they're gonna try to steal the buff. But Natalia has other plans. She tried to harass mid lane, and together with Farsa, they were able to get our Lilia. For a split second, we saw Natalia going there on the island bush. If she comes here and tries to steal the golem, we're gonna wreak havoc. But she went to bottom lane, so we're just gonna ambush her ourselves. And since we're inside our jungle, we have bonus defense and attack. After that, let's clear this side of the jungle, but we can see that Natalia is going back to bot again, so we're just gonna wait and see and stay on this bush. Anyways, we can initiate to the bottom lane with just 2 cables from that vintage point. and we're able to get the double kill even without blue buff. Now we're gonna go for our purple buff and go for the turtle next. The enemy team is already here, we're outnumbered, so the only thing we can do is just to try to steal the turtle and get out as soon as possible. But if an opportunity like this presents itself, then we have to grab the double kill. That is to grab any opportunity that presents itself. Now we're cabling straight to the center mid lane. We just did additional 2 cables and Farsa transformed into a bird and escaped. She panicked, and a few seconds later we went after her again, but she just transformed and escaped, so we're just gonna escape ourselves as well. But upon looking at the turtle area, the enemy is almost done with the turtle, so we're just gonna go there instead of recalling back to base, because we might be able to steal it like this one. We don't even need to use retribution. So after we secure the turtle, we're just gonna recall back to base and go back to mid as well, trying to push the lane, and we barely dodged Guinevere there. Anyways, our team is here, they're trying to keep them busy, so we're gonna finish the job that we came here to do, which is to secure the turret and probably go for isolated lost enemy heroes like Amon. We are low on energy, so we're just gonna disengage for now and try to secure this purple buff from the enemy. We're currently invading while our teammates are applying pressure on the lanes. The enemy team went to defend a bottom lane, and let's see what we can do. For the second time, we barely dodged Guinevere there. And after 30 seconds, the purple buff has spawned, and we're camping here by the bush, and we're just gonna give Farsa a scare, then take the purple buff. Then a clash is about to happen at mid, and it's actually happening now. It's starting the team fight, so we're gonna go in, and the mistake here is I was too greedy. And Farsa got me. After that, Farsa became cocky and went on to contest and invade the jungle, but she was not even able to fly away. And for the third time, we barely dodged Guinevere there. After that, I recalled back to base and tried to drill some straight cables at mid, and we're just looking for an opportunity to go in. So we went in, but the minions were able to drain Fanny's energy so quickly. Nevertheless, we were able to escape, but Amon was lying in wait, and he was able to get us. By the way, if you want to learn straight cables the easier way, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now we're gonna look at 2 games where we effectively shut down the enemy jungle and be aggressive strategically. There are times when you can be aggressive with Fanny, but you need to pick the right time to be aggressive or else you'll pay the price. So we're gonna look at this game to know when and how to be aggressive. The very first thing to look at is the enemy jungler. If he is squishy and no dash skills, then we can be aggressive and continually invade the enemy jungle. And so we switch back to Assassin Emblem with Season Hunter for faster jungling. The next thing to look at is the enemy roamer, and it is Franco. He might come in to harass us, so in order to make it harder for him, we're gonna lead the creeps into this bush. But looking at the minimap, Franco is in the top lane assisting Layla, so it's gonna be safe for us to farm and invade consistently. After we get this purple buff, let us invade orange buff and see if Popol is there. He even used retribution, and with just simple cables, we can take him down. By the way, if you want to learn Fanny cables, watch this video later on. Since Franco is at top lane, we can aggressively take the purple buff of the enemy. And even though Popol already uses retribution, we're just gonna lead the creeps to the bush again so that Popol would have no choice but to get into the bush in order to get the purple buff. And once he gets into the bush, we're gonna unleash everything that we have to take him down. Farsa tried to help Popol but was too late. They managed to get our HP low, but we don't have to recall at this point. We can just regen our HP in the jungle. At this point, nobody's gonna be able to contest us in the jungle, so we're safe. Hence, it's a waste of time to recall. Now take a look at this. Even though Fanny is very low, with just the regen skill and the green orbs dropped by the creeps, you can almost get full HP. Considering that there's no more creeps for Popol to farm on his side of the jungle, he might come here to the turtle area because the turtle is almost up. And so we're just gonna wait for him here. And he actually showed up. Gord was able to stun him, and we're gonna go in for the kill with just simple cables. He actually was able to get the Lethal Wanderer, and I don't want to give the enemy vision, especially in the turtle area, so we're just gonna take care of it. Then try to gank bottom lane because they're ganging up on the XP laner. And after that successful gank, we're gonna go for the turtle now. And it's always a good idea to ask help from your teammates. Ask nicely and they might help you. Now looking at the minimap, the purple buff of the enemy is almost up. I would like to invade that again, but we're low on health, so we're just gonna regen our health by taking our own purple buff. But on a quick glance from the minimap, Popol is not yet taking the purple buff, so we might still have time to go there and steal it for ourselves. But we need to take note that we don't have Retry yet because we use it for the turtle. That's a minor miscalculation on my part. We could have just taken the turtle without using Retribution, because if I had just reserved Retribution, I could have secured the enemy purple buff. Anyways, that's just a minor detail. Nevertheless, we're still able to apply a lot of pressure to Popol. And since we're at the right side of the battlefield, we can also apply pressure to the XP laner, Beleric, who is actually very low, hiding in the tower, probably baiting us so that he can use his skill ultimate. And he indeed used his ultimate, but we were able to escape. That's good because we were able to bait out his ultimate, and that makes life easier for our EXP laner. Now we'll just have to recover our HP in the jungle, and it's already full right now. And now we're very much ahead in farm, and I intend to keep it that way. Since there's no more creeps for Popol to farm in his own jungle, he tried his luck in ganking EXP lane, but we are here to support our EXP laner and counter gank the enemy. And with just simple cables, we were able to take out Popol and Beleric as well. So we're just gonna back out and then farm our own jungle, regen health, repeat the cycle of invading, put pressure on the enemy jungler Popol, don't allow him to have comebacks, and deal with other threats, especially the marksman. Speaking of which, Layla is leading for her team. Even though we're significantly ahead of her, I just want to quench this late game threat. What I failed to see is that Ixia is also significantly ahead of farm than Layla, so she's more than enough to deal with Layla, and I can just focus on the jungle. So in a macro sense, it's much better to secure the turtle and invade the enemy jungle, because that would put pressure on the jungler and he won't be able to help the lanes at all. And here's a macro blunder. I went for top lane and it's paired up with a micro mistake. I went after Franco and got CC'd and focused on by Layla, and I got shut down. And with that, Ixia got shut down by guess who? The enemy jungler. After Fanny revived, we are rushing towards the turtle, but unfortunately Popol was able to get the turtle. Then he's starting to have momentum, but we will not allow that to continue. We are entering mid to late game now, and there will be more and more team fights from here on forward. And after a while, we have another clash at mid. We're just looking out for Franco's CCs. Once it's used up or he's distracted, we can go in. With that successful team fight, we can push, take the purple buff, and secure the Lord once the clock turns 8 minutes. So once we're done with the purple buff, we're just gonna lie in wait inside this bush, wait for the Lord, and ambush unsuspecting heroes like Popol. Now it's Beleric. Layla is having free hits from the right side, so we're just gonna go after her. She's the main damage dealer. Without her, the enemy team would crumble apart. And second to her is Farsa with her magic damage, so we're gonna go after her as well. But we're too low, so we're just gonna back out, take our purple buff, and go for the Lord next. Now we've wiped out the entire enemy, and we're just gonna signal the team to go for the Lord, and once they are in the Lord area, we are gonna go there and help as well. And it's always a good habit to inform your teammates that your retribution is ready. But we're not on the clear yet, as Popol took out Gord and he's probably heading this way. So we're just gonna secure this Lord with Retry. But before Lord even spawned, the enemy picked us off one by one. And all who's left is Fanny and Gord. I briefly considered going after Farsa, but she's too far away, so we're gonna go for Popol instead. The entire enemy team except for Popol has revived, but our team hasn't yet, so we're just gonna wait for them before we go on a team fight. So for the meantime, we're gonna clear this wave, take the enemy purple buff, and wait for an opportunity to strike. Nothing's happening yet, but the enemy orange buff is up, so we're just gonna go over there and take it real quick, and probably we could be able to bait out some enemies like this. And a team fight is breaking out. It's a complete chaos. We're just gonna head out, but Popol is chasing us. He's hungry for vengeance, but that would backfire for him as we are able to burst him down. Shout out to Ixia for the Maniac, and with that we wiped out every last one of the enemy heroes. I should have probably pushed here right away, but instead I went for the purple buff and then push, and because of that, our minion wave at top didn't reach the turret. They're just at the outer rim, so I ended up tanking most of the turret's damage. But we took out the turret nonetheless, and this should apply great pressure to the enemy team, at least at top lane. And this is a very dangerous combo. Franco and Farsa, they were able to take out the immortality, but luckily we were able to barely escape. The enemy has probably felt the pressure on top lane, so they're pushing it, but our team is poised to defend. After this, we tried to push with the Lord, but even then, the enemy somehow managed to defend. So I took matters into my own hands and be aggressive, trying to force it, and let's see what happens. If you want to learn Fanny in just 6 moves, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. This is the last game from Season 34, and we're gonna try to be aggressive without the ultimate skill. We are gonna be invading the jungle and ganking the lanes non-stop. By the way, it's Season 35 right now, and it's during the holidays, so I might be able to grind in rank, so watch out for those videos. We're gonna use this emblem because we don't have a tank. Alright, we're gonna start with a purple buff, and we're gonna lead these creeps into the bush. There's actually no real threat for early invades from the enemy because their roamer is just Estes, but it's just a good practice nonetheless. And our Lilia there for the first blood, so we're gonna go over to the enemy red buff to invade, but I arrived a bit too early, and Leomord can just back out whenever he wants, but he chooses to fight, and that's because he has some backup, and it's getting dangerous for Fanny, so we're just gonna back out into a safer place. Sometimes it's normal to have a failed invade early on in the game, so if that happens, just go back to farming right away. In my case here, I'm starting with this creep, and then after this I'm gonna recall back to base and go to the red buff with full HP and energy, because we'll never know, the enemy might try to counter invade us, and we need to be prepared for that. Even though Leomord, the enemy jungler, is at top lane right now, it's still best practice to lead the creeps into the bush just in case, just to be extra safe. Okay, so our first item would be the Blade of Heptases, just to give us that extra amount of damage from the damage penetration. And at some point we need to have anti-heal items just to deal with Estes. Speaking of which, Natalia did a good job in baiting the enemy heroes to this side. The purple buff is gone now, so let us be conservative with the energy. So let's use simple cables and normal attacks. So we got Estes and Eve, and Leslie is still here, not escaping at all, so we're just gonna go after her with just normal attacks. We're not gonna use the retribution, we're gonna save that for natural objectives or the enemy jungle when we invade. There's a clash going on at the river on the right side, so we're just gonna prepare ourselves with the purple buff before going there. As you can see, Estes used up his ultimate, and they're trying to invade the jungle, so we're not gonna allow that. We're gonna fight for it. We're just gonna do some back and forth cables. It's a tight space, so it's favorable for us. Usually after team fights, when the enemies already used up their skills, that's when Fanny can shine. After that, we're just gonna go back straight into our jungle, starting with the red buff. While waiting for any new information on the map, Natalia is roaming, so she's gonna give us vision on the enemy jungle. Take note, this is just solo queue, so you have to take advantage when your allies give you vision on the minimap. Currently, they are fighting by the purple buff. Natalia is trying to harass Leomord, but Leomord and Estes, they were able to take down Natalia. And I couldn't believe my eyes. Leomord abandoned the purple buff in favor of going to the bottom lane to gank. And after we deal with Estes here, we're gonna go after Leomord, who helped Leslie take out Layla. He is very low, so it shouldn't be that hard. And Lilia finally took him out. After that, the purple buff is cleared for us, but we have to make a quick stop by the crab here and then go for the purple buff. Eve is at mid, so she might contest us, and Leomord is about to spawn, and we saw Estes here as well. They will be trying to contest us, but that's okay. We got Natalia here with us. We picked off Estes, but that's just a bonus because our main target is the purple buff. And after that, we're just gonna take our purple buff and see what happens on the map. Something's about to explode at bottom lane. Earlier, Natalia took out Leslie and her teammates went to bottom lane supposedly for backup, but they were too late. Natalia was too quick in disposing Leslie. Now they're engaging in a team fight and we just freshly got our purple buff, so we're gonna wreak havoc. Eve used flicker, but it doesn't matter. Fanny's faster with her cables. Eve almost escapes with 1 HP, but we dived the tower, able to cable out, but we're not in the clear yet. Leslie still has her ultimate. I think it's probably best to cable a bit further, but we're able to TP back safely to the base. So these are our items. Somehow we got the War Axe first before the Blade of Heptasis and actually made a difference in Fanny's survivability. We're going after Leomord here, but here's the most important lesson. When you're getting kills left and right, it's easy to be very greedy and be very aggressive even though it's clearly very unsafe. Never trade Fanny's life for a simple kill who is not ahead of you or a key player on the enemy team. Here we are leading, so we should not trade lives. Now that we revived, we were gonna go towards the turtle area because it's almost up and we can just take our purple buff while waiting. And then probably push the mid as well, and we can see Estes and Eve lingering around. So after we take this purple buff, we're gonna have a detour at mid. We're about to go after Leomord, but we're not gonna overextend in the tower area because we don't know where the enemies are. He probably is gonna go to the red buff, but he's not here. Instead, we're gonna go after Zealand, who's trying to take the turtle even without retribution. And with that kill out of the way, we are now able to secure the turtle, hopefully without retribution. But Leomord tried to contest. We're gonna go with retribution, but we're gonna go after Leomord with a 3 cable reverse. And that allowed us to push turret at mid. All the while, there's a commotion at bottom lane, but our teammates were able to successfully take care of it. So we're just gonna go for our red buff and then the purple buff afterwards, and that should prepare us to take the Lord and possibly fight with the enemy. So we signaled our team to gather at the Lord. There are no signs of the enemy whatsoever, but Zilong is here patrolling the area, and I couldn't believe he tried to enter our jungle. He's overextending. I'm pretty sure that our teammates were completely collapsed on him. Now that's out of the way, we still need to be cautious because we don't know where the enemies are, and they actually reveal themselves to be here at top lane. We're trying to engage them, make their HP low, but they were able to damage us pretty significantly, so we're just gonna back out. And unfortunately, they got Thamus and the Lord. Then a miracle happened. Shout out to Layla. After that, we tried to push mid, but Zilong was able to shut down Layla. They're catching up on us, and this is the reason why we need to be careful with marksmen, especially in the late game. And because of that, they were able to push a turret, but we are not gonna give up our base up so easily, so we're gonna defend as much as we can even without purple buff. Watch this sequence. See how much Fanny can do even without purple buff, and this is with the recent nerf on her energy regen. Because of that successful team fight, we were able to push the tier 2 and tier 3 turret, but somehow, I don't know why, they were able to defend their base. So I went back to get the purple buff to prepare ourselves for a potential team fight, but ended up chasing Eve. If you want to know how to properly train for Fanny, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now let's go to game number 6. Today we're gonna explore if Fanny is playable in EXP lane. In the first part of this video, we're gonna focus in much detail in the laning phase, and then the second part would be what to do after the laning phase, especially in the middle game and end game. Ideally, Fanny is best played as a jungler, but sometimes you won't be able to jungle because, you know, teammates. Anyways, this is the build that I used for this game. It is a full fighter sustain build, and that is because we don't have a tank. Okay, and now it's the beginning of the game, and since we're doing EXP lane, we won't be needing any jungling boots, so we're gonna go straight to the War Axe. So our first item would be the dagger. And by the way, we're using execute for our battle spell. In this lane, we might go against Sylvana, so let's just hide in this bush and wait. And by the way, our jungler is having ping issues. This is not good. Anyways, we're just gonna do our best. Our main objective in the lane is just to last hit the minions and not miss any waves. We are indeed going up against Sylvana, so during the laning phase, it's best to avoid her first kill and damage her with our first kill while we last hit the minions. Okay, she burned her flicker. We could probably go for the kill, but if ever we're successful, be too low and we need to go back to base and might miss this minion wave. So let's just play safe, hide in the bush, soak up experience from the minion wave while we're regenerating our energy. But Sylvana has other plans. If she jumps us or stay in the bush, either way she's dead. Here we use skill 1 and 2 cables to the wall, and that should finish her off, and we go back to getting the farm on the minions. And now we're not in a hurry to go back home, we just need to get the experience and gold from that last minion. So we recall immediately, and by the time we come back, then the wave should be here and we would not miss it. And you can exploit this mistake by the enemy jungler. He completely took away an entire wave from the EXP lane, which is not only a time waster for a jungler, but he took the EXP and farm from this Sylvana, and then that allowed us to freeze the lane. But that lane freeze is just temporary, and we enter into full harassment mode. We're gonna harass this Sylvana with 3 cable reverse. This is dual purpose because it allows us to clear the lanes much faster, and when we clear the lanes, it will free us to help with the turtle or visit other lanes. Here I made a mistake. I should have went straight to the turtle to assist Yin, our jungler, but I got carried away with the 3 cable reverse. And one thing about Sylvana is that be careful not to be caught up with her ultimate and first kill CC, or this will happen. And she got our jungler too. But once we revive, we're just gonna go back to the turtle area and hope that we make it on time to contest the turtle. And indeed, we are here. The turtle is low, but Sylvana is low as well. We're gonna go after her, but unfortunately Balmond secured the turtle, and we're just gonna go back to the lanes. But Balmond's still chasing us, and we are low in energy and also low in HP, but we're not gonna recall just yet. We just need to secure this wave first, and we don't have to worry about Balmond because Yin is keeping him busy. Now that we secured the lane, we're gonna head over to Yin's position to help him out with Balmond. So we're just waiting here in the bush, and unfortunately Sylvana jumped out of nowhere and we're not able to help Yin. He got eliminated by the 2 enemies. And just like that, Sylvana was able to catch up to us and even get ahead of us in experience and probably in gold as well. So we're just waiting here in the bush, soaking up experience and waiting for the right time to strike. Here I could just freeze the lane, but since we have the War Axe, there's no need for us to freeze the lane because we are just gonna go in and out, harass, and regen energy and health at the same time. And we're gonna get tough boots just to reduce CC duration. And here, look at the regen with the War Axe. And we don't have to worry about hitting the minions because we're hitting Sylvana And as long as we're hitting enemy heroes, then we can regen energy. And if it's too low like this, we can just walk it off and we have increased regen with the energy. Alright, Balmond caught us off guard right there, but we just cable out and wait for Eudora because if you look at the minimap, she's coming right over. And here's a very important tip. Sometimes when your cable are suboptimal like this, you don't have to worry. Just play safe and go back to the turret where it's safe. And try to last hit every minion. We just need to be very patient and try to get ahead in farm, and eventually our time will come. Like this. Now that their jungler is gone, we can at least get their beetle to deny just a bit of farm from Balmond. Okay, things are looking good, and the next item that we're gonna get is the Blade of Heptases, and we're gonna start with the Fury Hammer. We got two options after this beetle camp. It's either we go to the XP lane or we can help with the turtle, but seeing that Yin is gone, there's no point going to the turtle area because our jungler is gone and most of the enemy heroes are there. Okay, now that we cleared the minion wave, we can scout the river area, provide vision for our teammates, and probably poke the middle, apply pressure to both Vixana and Franco, but not commit too much because our main responsibility is to go back to the lane and secure the next wave. This is why roamers and tanks are very important, so be kind to your tanks if you're playing with them. Okay, let's fast forward a bit because it's all just clearing the waves and getting this gold crab, and so that we can get into this important point after clearing this wave. Alright, we just saw Sylvana get inside the bush, and I believe she's waiting to ambush us at the right time, so we're gonna bait it out with this push. Unfortunately, we are a second too late and got trapped inside Sylvana's ult. In this instance, we need to be calm and not attack Sylvana or use first skill, or else the aggro from the turret will be on us. Alright, we barely escaped, but we need to hurry or rush towards the base to outrun the turret's attack. At this point, the enemy is pushing at mid. We have to defend because they already destroyed one turret. We're just poking around, but our energy is not enough, so I think it's time to claim the purple buff. And we're not gonna ask permission, we're just gonna get it. Yin had his chance, but he kept on feeding. And so we're gonna take matters into our own hands, get this purple buff, and try to stage a comeback. But unfortunately, we got caught inside Sylvana's ultimate, missed some cables. We underestimated Sylvana's damage, so we're just gonna get this Rose Gold Meteor for extra magic defense and damage as well. It has also lifesteal, so we can regen health by simply attacking minions or creeps. Now both sides are contending for the Lord, and we're gonna head over there to help secure it and eliminate enemy heroes along the way. But unfortunately, the enemy team took it, and our jungler has his own world. And so when the Lord spawned, the enemy pushed mid. We're just gonna poke, making sure that we do not get caught by Franco or Sylvana's ultimate. And once we baited those CCs, we can go all in like this. We ran out of energy there because we don't have the purple buff, but fortunately the enemy are panicking. They are trying to escape. Now we're gonna get this purple buff, but we're not able to secure it because Yin used his retry. But that won't stop us from grabbing a kill on mid. Even though it's past the laning stage, we still got the responsibility of defending the top lane, the EXP lane. So we're just gonna head over there from time to time, making sure that the enemy wave, the enemy minions are not pushing, and then clear it. Once it's cleared, we can participate in team fights again. But somehow, we almost got wiped out. So let's try to defend, but unfortunately, we got caught in Sylvanas' ultimate and the enemy team got us as well. And fortunately for us, they got cocky, they overstayed, and we got payback. Let's stop chasing because Balmond has immortality. I think it's better to go for the Lord instead. And fortunately, Layla's already here. I don't know what Yin is doing, but it distracts the enemy from the Lord, so it works well for us in the end. Maybe we should thank Yin for his sacrifice. Because we were able to secure the Lord with just Layla and Fanny. While waiting for the Lord, again, let's not forget about our responsibility, which is the top lane and EXP lane. But unfortunately, they were able to defend the Lord push, so we're just gonna set up an ambush instead. And with that, we destroyed a couple of turrets and brought us into a position to secure the Lord, but Sylvana went to contest us, and let's see what happens. Okay, now the Lord just spawned, and the enemy is overextending here. We got Vexana and Melissa too. But somehow the enemy was able to defend, and we're in danger but not for long. If you want to learn Fanny in 6 moves, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now let's move on to Game 7 where we explore a very good build for Fanny. If you use this build, you can make a lot of mistakes and yet still win and even get MVP. And to prove that, we're gonna look at a game where I made a lot of mistakes yet still get kills and eventually win, just because I used this build. Okay, we're gonna be playing Fanny as a jungler here, so we're gonna get the first few items starting with the jungling boots, and we're gonna queue up the knife in order to have a faster jungling time. We need to be fast in jungling because we're going up against Hanzo. I got bad experience against Hanzo players, as really good Hanzo players would even be able to steal your first purple buff. They could actually go straight for it, and with just 5 hits, just like that, they would be able to take your purple buff. I was weary that would happen, but Natalia provided vision and set our mind at ease, and she was even able to harass Hanzo. Although she died early on the game, it gave us a chance to make this play. Now I want you to focus on how many cables I missed. That's 1, 2, and that was while under the turret, and we were able to secure the kill. And that is the power of the spell vamp from the fighter emblem. Now we can recall back to base, but Glue is trying to get this lethal wonder, so it doesn't sit well with me just to give it away. Thereby, we're just gonna go and secure it for ourselves. We ended up using Retribution, although I was hoping we don't need it, but we actually need to use Retribution. And after that, we just go back to farming and then regen our health and energy in the jungle. Now, Hanzo might be seeking revenge and might invade us in this red buff and steal it for himself. That's why it's best practice to lead the creeps into the bush while farming, and this will make it significantly harder for the enemy jungler to steal it. But anyways, Natalia is doing a great job in providing vision on our enemy jungler, and she is actually harassing him and was able to get the kill. That's why we're gonna applaud him with a well done. At this point, we could go to the turtle right away because it's almost up, but the enemy gold lane is bearing down on the turret, so we're just gonna head over there, apply some pressure, and probably get a couple of kills. Claude is using Vengeance, we could wait, but Eve is dealing a lot of damage to us, magic damage. That's why we need to go out and then resume our farm. Now the turtle is up, but we don't need to go over there right away just because we have time. Their EXP laner is down and Hanzo won't be able to take the turtle as fast by himself. And as a matter of fact, we might still have time to get our purple buff before going to the turtle area. Okay, now we have confirmation that Hanzo is not with the turtle. He's actually pushing mid with his teammates, so we're just gonna apply pressure to them, deal with a minion wave, harass them a bit, and then go straight to purple buff right after. We don't have to recall back to base, we can just regenerate our HP and energy while farming. This is such a time saver, that's why I dislike as much as possible I avoid recalling back to base, only doing it when it's absolutely necessary. And also, one reason why we don't go to the turtle right away is that we would allow Hanzo to get most of the health from the turtle, and both of them will be low in HP once we get there, and indeed they are low, so we can just get Hanzo and secure the turtle for ourselves. Now, I'm not an expert on glue, but I'm pretty sure that's very far for glue to be able to ride on Fanny. And with that, we have the very first death of the game, and we commend our teammates for avenging us with a well done. With that, we need more survivability, thereby more spell vamp, so we're not gonna finish Heptasis first, we're gonna get War Axe first. Don't let that unfortunate event bother you, we just need to adjust and go back to farm. And now let's look at the scoreboard. It's good that we have more farm than any of the enemy team heroes, and it's reassuring that our marksman is leading in farm as it should be. Now we got our orange buff, so we just need to clear this side of the jungle before going to the lanes to gank. And we're looking at mid because Glue is there and Eve is probably hiding somewhere near, and she actually revealed herself together with Hanzo. They're trying to get the Lethal Wanderer, but we won't allow it, we're gonna steal it even with Retribution. This is not a good position, so we're just gonna back out a bit and wait. Now that they scattered, we can go in and pick off at least one of them, and we're looking at this glue, but Eve is using her ult and not moving, which makes for an easy target. And since we don't have a purple buff yet, so let's go ahead and secure one. From here on forward, you're gonna see a number of mistakes that I made, starting from that missed cable to this failed ambush on Eve. And let's forward a bit. We are able to steal the turtle, but look at these series of cables. You might say that's the last mistake, but no, there's another missed cable right there. But despite all those mistakes, we were able to hunt Hanzo down. And after that, we'll commit a few more mistakes with the cables, but that's the reason why you shouldn't be discouraged if you miss the cables. It's perfectly normal, as long as your Fanny is safe. Just go back to farm and make sure you're well fed. In the next sequence, you'll see what Fanny can do even without purple buff. Blue might be able to escape from us, but he won't be able to escape from our teammates. And since there are more of us in this jungle area, we can invade with high probability of success. Okay, we drove away Hanzo, he used his retribution, and we secured the purple buff for ourselves. There's no more orange creep by the enemy jungle, so we're just gonna get our own purple creep. And in the following play, it demonstrates how effective simple cables are with Fanny. We're trying to target Eve, but we'll see what ended up happening. After that successful play, we are gonna head over to the turtle to secure it, but it ended up changing into the Lord. So we're gonna secure that instead. When it comes to securing natural objectives, the enemy would almost always try to contest. So let's always try to keep a lookout, and if one enemy is out of place like this Hanzo, then we're gonna go for him. I missed one cable there, but with Retribution, we were able to secure the kill. And now it's time to go for the Lord and secure it for ourselves. Glue is trying to contest us, but we completely bait him in and we were able to secure the kill on Glue. And here I made a fatal mistake. I went on to force getting the Lord. What should have been done in a macro sense would be to defend the bottom lane because Claude is pushing. And on a micro level, we should have just backed out from the Lord. Here it's quite a bit frustrating because nobody tried to tank the Lord, but ultimately it's my decision to stay, so I cannot blame my teammates for that death. Fortunately, we got the Lord and we're still leading. An enemy Glue could be very annoying, but here is one way to deal with him, especially when he has ridden your hero already. And here's another way of dealing with him. And as you can see, Zask is a natural counter to Glue's ultimate. But unfortunately, he's too tanky right now and we're low in energy, so we're just gonna stop chasing. But it's gonna be different with Claude. Since Fanny and Claude have history, we're not gonna stop chasing. The last time we had a Lord push, the enemy defended it so well. And so we're trying to contend for the Lord the second time, but Hanzo here is misplaced, so we're gonna go after him. And then we secured the Lord. Before the Lord could even spawn, we had a team fight at mid. If you want to learn Fanny in 6 moves, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now let's go to Game 8, where we're gonna have an epic comeback. I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks to increase your chances of comebacks, and we're gonna use this game as a case study. The game starts with standard purple buff for Fanny, and then we're aiming to invade the enemy red. But the Earth already took the buff, hence the reverse cables. And so we're just gonna try to steal this golem and see if we can take D-Roth. And we were able to take the golem, but we used red tree in the process. So the first tip is trying to be proactive in farming while limiting the farming for your enemy. And we secured the Lethal Wanderer before going back to base. Now we don't have red tree and D-Roth knows this, so he tries to invade the red buff, but he's too late. And these tight spaces are very ideal for Fanny. We can do back and forth cables, triple cables, and eventually finish off the enemy. After that, we continue with farming, starting with our purple buff, and this is where the downward spiral started. The enemy secured the first turtle. I made a mistake and Hanabi got me, and the enemy is getting ahead in kills 5-1. But at least we have a bit of a breather because of this play, and Hanabi is getting cocky. Still, the combined damage of Aurora and Hanabi is no joke. While all of that is happening, D-Roth is very active invading the purple buff, but at the price of his own life. It is worth noting that the enemies are dominant in the lanes, so it's very easy for them to help the jungler to control the objectives. After they took the turtle, they picked us off one by one with Terizla having a double kill, so he got cocky and overstayed. So here's the tip: when enemies are ahead, they will eventually become sloppy and cocky, overstaying, make some mistakes, and you can take advantage of that. Now when teammates wants to surrender, don't surrender. You can't win if you don't fight. In this play, I didn't expect Hanabi's damage to be so much, so the next tip is to always check the enemy's farm, who's ahead and how far ahead they are. Here, Hanabi is leading almost 3k gold ahead of Fanny, and that afforded her a couple of items more. So our general strategy is either to avoid Hanabi, which is so passive, or to target her and buy some defensive items. So I chose the latter. It's quite risky to target a high damage dealer, but if we're quick about it, it might work. High risk, high reward, because ending a killing streak would grant you more gold. Fanny was one hit away from being killed, and that's the reason why we didn't chase Aurora. And here's a previous tip in action, and that is when the enemies are ahead, they usually become too relaxed. So you can take advantage of that. And always watch out for the enemy's damage dealer. Here, Hanabi is still very high in damage. You don't want to trade blows with her, just go in, be quick about your business, and go out. Here, Fanny almost died because of her high damage and trading blows with her. Then the enemy continues to extend the lead, almost wiped us out and even took the Lord. So I can't blame my teammates for wanting to surrender. But you can't win if you don't fight. So next tip is to learn how to defend your base and fight for your life. And so I'm gonna show you the entire base defense sequence, and I might be sloppy at times because I haven't played for a while, but because I have a system to fall back to, I was able to defend the base together with my teammates. So enjoy. Shout out to Changa. Okay, we were able to successfully defend the base, but there's still work that needs to be done, and luckily here, we were able to ambush the enemy, and the trade was favorable for us. Even though they got Armia, we got their Hanabi and Diroth. And here's another tip. When you're at the brink of a comeback, sometimes you become greedy and commit mistakes. So just play solidly, be safe, don't chase. Chances are the enemy become impatient and will commit mistakes like this one. Hanabi became impatient, wanted to end the game by herself, but her teammates are very far away, so she's very easy to pick up when the whole team is chasing her. And because their main damage dealer Hanabi is not able to defend, then it is a good opportunity to push. If you want to know how to defend your base systematically, watch this base defense masterclass, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now let's look at two games where we use simple cables. You don't have to learn complicated cables with Fanny. As a matter of fact, you can carry your team with just simple cables. And to prove it to you, we're going to play ranked using simple cables, and to show how effective it really is, we are not gonna use our ultimate skill. For this game, we're gonna be using this emblem, and we ended up using this build. Just because we don't have a tank in our lineup and we need to survive long enough to deal damage. We started with a blue, and since the enemy jungler is not a tank, then we have a better chance in invading. And Yin is here in this area, and it should be easy with just back and forth cables, nothing fancy. We steal the golem with retribution and we were able to secure the kill. Then we're gonna go for this Litho Wanderer to get ahead in farm. And with a quick glance, we saw that Yin had his blue and is heading over to bottom lane. So after this golem, we're gonna go to bottom lane as well to gank Diroth. And we saw Yin here, but we're gonna go after Diroth, and we initiated there with just 2 cables and then a couple of cables to the wall, and just like that, we started with 1 long cable to the wall. Diroth dashes towards us. We do first kill, 1, 2, and 3 more cables to the wall, and then cable out. And after that, we went to secure the turtle. Yin tried to contest but failed miserably. He brought us to his domain instead. But look at this. A couple of medium speed wall spams and back and forth cables, we brought down his HP to 1. Then we'll leave it to our teammates to finish him off. You could say that if you use simple cables here, Yin wouldn't make it out alive. Now we go back to farming, starting with the golem and then the red buff, then the blue buff after TPing or recalling back to base. As you can see on the minimap, enemy forces are gathering at top lane, and we're gonna head over there, initiating with just 2 cables. We retreat with 1 cable to avoid Tigro's ult, and we go back in with 2 cables into Ixia's position, grabbing the double kill, and we cable out with 2 cables. If you're wondering why we were able to melt Ixia's HP so quick, here's the breakdown. Remember, we used 2 cables to get to Ixia, and then we used 1 cable to the wall, first kill, and then a cable to the other side. Here, you don't have to use 4 cables to get out of the base, let alone straight cables. You can just use 2 cables, and it's that simple. Now back to the game. We saw Nana leaving that bush, and we closed the gap with just 2 cables, and we deal massive damage with just back and forth cables. And after getting away from the turret, we went to the turtle and secure it with the retribution. At this point, we're just gonna resume our farm. And while we're farming the orange buff, there's a commotion at mid, and with a quick glance, Nana's very low, so we're gonna go in using standard 2 cables, 3 pairs to be exact. Just a quick tip, even with simple cables, you need to be moving around all the time or else you will be caught by the enemy. And the reason why we were not able to get away there is because of that missed cable, so training your accuracy is very important. After we revived, we went on to get our orange buff and defend this push by D-Roth. We used a couple of back and forth cables there to get his HP low, and our teammates can finish the job. So we recall back to base, get our purple buff, and deal with Ixia who's taking the Lord. So we're gonna go in and help Natalia. And here's the quick breakdown. We used 3 cables to initiate and just used first skill, and Natalia was able to finish her off. After that, we were able to secure this Lord, and Nana was trying to contest but ended up with a very low HP, so with just 1 cable we were able to finish her off. Unfortunately, we didn't have a decisive push with the Lord, and they were able to take down our Hanabi and Natalia. So they got overconfident and greedy, and were chasing Cho even outside their base. Sadly, we're not able to save Cho, but we were able to take out D-Roth at least. And Cyclops got Yin. Here's that encounter with D-Roth at half the speed. We started off with a 3 cable reverse, then we attacked with 2 cables. We cable to the bottom right, but D-Roth dashes towards us, stopped us, so we used first skill and then cable to the top right to finish him off. In the next scenario, I'm gonna show you that even inside the enemy base, you only need simple cables to be effective. So that was just a well-placed 2 cables bypassing the turret and a cable to the building. And with that, we have our item Oracle. And we're hunting for D-Roth at bottom lane. And he is hiding in this bush, and Cyclops was able to finish him off. Then we're gonna head back to base to recharge, then we're gonna go for the Lord once it respawns. But there were enemies hiding, so I'd rather deal with them first. So Ixia is the only one here. We just initiated with 2 cables and used back and forth cables, and that's it. In the next scenario, pay attention to Yin's HP. Here it is again in slow motion. Among the simple combos, I used only 4 in this game, and if you want to learn all 6 of them, watch this video, which will be included on the playlist that will be linked to this video. Now let's look at the second game where we use just simple cables to win. I'm gonna show you how to play Fanny using simple cables and without ultimate. We're gonna look at a legend rank game. I may have used complex cables 1 or 2 times, but the rest of them, most of it, are simple cables. So you might see plays like this, but they're just an exception. Alright, now let's begin the game. Let's start with a purple buff, and since I had much success in invading the enemy red lately, let's do that here. If Belleric wasn't there, I wouldn't be sure if I got the kill, so I might just back off and continue with the farm. And so we got our golem and our red, and after that we're gonna gank mid lane. And oh boy, Vixana did give us a hard time. So we initiate with 2 cables and 1 cable to the wall and another cable to the other side of the wall. So it's just 1 and 2 cables, nothing fancy, and we seal the deal with retribution and first skill. I really don't want to use retri there because I want to preserve it for the turtle, but you have to do what you need to do. Okay, since our jungle is cleared, so we're just gonna head back to mid and eventually go to the turtle. It just happens that Vixana is here, so we're just gonna engage and see what happens. Unfortunately, the enemy contested and they got the turtle, so we're just gonna go to our red buff and clear our jungle once again and probably help bottom lane after the farm. But our teammates were able to handle bottom lane very well, so we're just gonna head over to mid lane and gank Vixana again. How about let's give Vixana a break and take this opportunity to announce that by the second week of November, I'm gonna release a base defense masterclass here on YouTube for free and an accompanying course that I'm working on right now called the Complete Base Defense System. Even more, I made a preview PDF guide so that you can start practicing now, and I'm gonna show you how to download it for free later on in this video. Now back to the game, we resume with doing our purple buff and then ganking bottom lane. Because of that successful gank, we were able to secure the turtle. And always be careful with Melissa in tight spaces because she might trap you with her ultimate. Here I didn't expect my teammates to be almost wiped out, so I just went for the purple instead. I didn't expect Zillow to come out and wreak havoc upon my teammates, so I'm just gonna get this purple buff real quick and go back to farming. I'm actually delayed in my items here, so I'm doubling up in farming. And since Vixana is at mid, we're gonna go for it again. There's a bit of dancing there, but eventually we got the job done and able to push the mid lane turret. We got this purple buff before trying to invade the enemy base. As a reflex, I tried to tap this area here, but I forgot that this is a no ult game. Anyways, we're gonna try to get the Lord now and hopefully seal the deal. Now well done to the team for securing this objective, and before we go for the push, I'm just gonna get the purple buff real quick. Now Mia is pushing top, so we're gonna go ahead and defend, but she went invisible, so we have to play hide and seek. And we finally found her. All there's left to do is to chase. Somehow the enemy was able to defend the Lord push. So we're gonna go back to farm and defend the bottom lane from Joy. I was a bit late to defend the first tier turret, but at least that's the only turret that Joy was able to destroy. That somehow made Joy a martyr and inspired her teammates to split push bottom lane, specifically Zilong. But our Odette was able to defend with no problem. So we just hide here in the bush waiting for somebody to show up, and Mia indeed showed up, and we're still gonna play hide and seek with her. While waiting for the Lord, I invaded the enemy purple and Odette is here, but Zilong tried to contest and he ended up dead meat. If you want to know how to properly train for Fanny, watch this video, which is included in this playlist that contains all the tutorial videos that I mentioned here. Click the videos and see you there.